Now we have certain fads, you know, we had them, every generation has fads, okay? I know I had my fads. I mean, we had our fads in the 70s. You know, we'd wear different color underwear too. We wouldn't have our pants sagging all the way down our behinds. Maybe we'd have our underwear kind of pulled up a little bit, maybe an inch higher than our pants, you know, so they could see, you know, that you had color underwear on or whatever. And you might have purple Converse with maybe 2 or 3 pair of socks on underneath. I mean, we had our fads too. Every generation has their fads. But what I want to just talk about for a moment are our permanent fads. And permanent fads. I know that sounds like an oxymoron because a fad is something that is temporary, that's short-lived, that doesn't last. When you talk about a permanent fad, it's taking a fad and affecting ourselves in such a way that the results are permanent, like tattoos, like piercings, like the criminal activity that we think is fun as a child. And even posting certain things on Facebook or the internet that will be there forever, that potential employers will see. We are allowing our children to do things that are going to have a permanent negative effect on their lives. And we're training them up in ignorance, so they don't really know any better. I was in the neighborhood yesterday, and this little girl, it was a school day. It was the day before yesterday. It was Friday. It was a school day. And this little girl wasn't in school. She was probably about 8 years old. And this gentleman, this old gentleman, his life had been kind of jacked up. He kind of lived the wrong way, and he was paying the price. But he checked this little child, "Why aren't you in school?" She goes, "What?" She wasn't ready for that. He said, "Why aren't you in school?" She said, "My mama said I didn't have to go today." And that was that. Now what's wrong with that mother? Now that mother, her life is already jacked up. She just doesn't understand. She's paving the way for her daughter's own life to be messed up. And that's what I'm suggesting today. We need to begin to look at our lives and recognize we may be in situations that are jacked, but you know, it doesn't have to be that way with our children. Our children should be better off than we were, and should end up better off than we are now. I was speaking to my daughter this morning, you know. And she's doing what? She's in the 1st grade and has study habits now better than I ever had in my life. Because her mother and I are studying with her every night. We're going over her homework with her, and we're quizzing her on it, and we're helping her, and all this stuff. And I don't ever remember, that kind of interaction, you know, when I was a child. But it's like there's no way it's gonna be any different. And she's getting like A's, 100 this, 100% this, 100% spelling bees, 103, you know, because they throw in a couple extra credit points, and she gets those right too. Man, I was just barely getting by with C's and sometimes D's, but it's like the path is being set from my daughter. And I was explaining to her the other day that that's all Mommy and Daddy are doing, are just giving her different ways to study, because eventually when she gets older, she'll be studying on her own, and it's up to her to pick which way works best for her. And martial art as well, you know. She's practicing with a club, but I'm teaching her, giving her private lessons at home, showing her this tidbit, that tidbit. I've seen them guys, you know, that I grew up with playing basketball way better than me, gone into college and playing, and some into the NBA and all. That's because their daddies could play. Now, the daddies may not have been all that great, but of all that their daddies learned in their lifetime, they're ready to impart in their children when they're very young, and their children end up becoming better and surpassing them in skill. And the daddies are proud. I have one buddy of mine on the internet always posted his kid is in college now, doing real great, probably on track to the NBA. Now, this brother played basketball when he was a teenager, like most brothers did, but he wasn't that good. But he was able to impart all he had learned in his life through adult, and started teaching all that to his kid when his kid was 5. So his kid was able to garner and gather what his dad was able to teach him, and then surpass him. And that's what I was telling my daughter today. She wasn't quite getting it. I'm saying, whatever it is, if you have an eating issue, if you have an issue where you didn't study too well, didn't do well in school, you know, didn't do well in the workplace because of decisions you made, we need to make sure and impart the life lessons into our children so that they can become better off than we are today, okay? So that's what I say. Even I made a lot of mistakes in life. Some of y'all know I made a lot of wrong turns. But then I spent 17 years in juvenile detention every week talking to those young people, trying to give them help based on the negative consequences of the situations that I chose to walk in my life. And so no, all those issues that I created in myself that were negative, all the wrong moves that I made, they weren't mistakes if I could take those mistakes and impart wisdom into the life of other people so they don't make the mistakes I did. I was just a supreme sacrifice for their well-being, okay? That's the way I look at it. And I think that's the way we all should be as parents. My dad was a great man, master's degree. He was the chief master sergeant in the Air Force, which was the highest rank as an enlisted man you could acquire. And then he went on to becoming as a civilian in the same type position, and he was whatever the officer rank was, major or colonel in the civilian, you know, as comparable to the military ranking. So, and he had gotten his education, very intelligent man. But my father passed away from lung cancer because he smoked cigarettes all his life. As well, he had some alcohol issues as well. So as great as my father was, he had certain issues that he shouldn't have. So for me then, I don't have alcohol issues. I don't have smoking issues. So to me, I was able to garner much of what my father was able to give to me, but then I was able to avoid some of the issues that he had in his life. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So I was telling my daughter as well. So I was telling her this morning, you know, Daddy could have done better, but Daddy's able to put everything Daddy has in her. And then I would expect her to take that and take it to a different level in life and far surpass me than I ever got in this world. My son the same way. His college, he's a senior at the University of Cincinnati. He's gone educationally further than I went. And man, he's telling me, he's got like a double major in international marketing and blah, blah, blah. And he's telling me his plans and the intern here. And he was in Chile doing some studies about a year or so ago. I mean, you know, he's doing things that surpassed his dad. And this is what it's all about. I've seen fathers that were jealous of their children that were doing better than they were, that were smarter than they were. Man, when I'm talking to my son and he's explaining things to me, and I almost can't quite understand what the heck he's talking about, man, that is a good feeling for me. Because that's what, my life, I turned 53 a couple of weeks ago. I mean, come on now. I do plan on living about 130, but I'm not going to be around here forever. But he's like 23 years old, man. I remember when I was 23, I was just partying with no way, going to the blood bank, playing around with the GI Bill, not even serious about my life. And now I look at my son at that age, where he's at now, surpassing his dad. That's what it's about. Martial art the same. Teach my daughter like them basketball boys taught their son. She started when she was 5. She's 6.5 now. Man has a roundhouse kick. Kicked me the other day. I said, man, made me feel good. A little bit sore on the leg, but it was like exactly what's supposed to be. Our kids have to end up better than we are. We have to give them that. And so then we look at them, and I have to talk to her sometimes. You know, my daughter, where sometimes she wants things she can't have. No, man. And I explained to her even when she's crying, you know, and afterwards, look, you know, Daddy, the other day she wanted something she couldn't have right then, and she was really upset and crying. So, you know, we had to just go through that. But then, you know, at bedtime, every night I tell her stories, either Bible stories or regular stories about my life or whatever, just things. And I begin to tell her that school, that you know, she goes to school at school, but she's in our household and that's school as well. And it's our job to make sure that by the time she leaves home, when she becomes a young lady, that she's gotten the lessons in this school that will make her successful out there in the real world. And the reality is, oftentimes, especially the downfall of many African Americans, and probably most people, but African Americans for this program, is that we always have to have what we want right now. That's why most of us have like $5 in our savings account. Man, I talked to a guy, man, he's getting ready to retire, 20-something years, you know, where I work. And I said, man, and I was asking him about his 401k about 5 years ago, and he said, yeah, man, I'm thinking about getting one. I'm like, what? I have the nerve to tell him it's too late. But see, because we always want what we want right now, so we are never able to build up anything, to save something. I told her she couldn't have the thing she wanted. She wanted to go to a piggy bank and get her money and use it to go get it. I said, no, you can't. It's my money, why can't I? No, you can. And later we had that discussion. I said, you got to learn. You got to learn. Begin to learn. And I mean, we're nice, and she's understanding because she was past that turmoil, That no, we can't always just get what we want when we want it, because then we'll never have anything built up. And I didn't promise her this, but I promise you, and the reality is that sometimes if we wait just a little bit longer, we'll end up not getting it. You see some of those things on TV, Oh man, 3 in the morning, that's what I need. One of those cookers, and look, they're going to send me 2. Come on, man, how many times you use that cooker? And if we just wait until morning, we're not going to spend that money on that cooker. So I'm saying, so we just have to make sure that recognize that we're preparing our children, African American children. So they don't have to be on entitlements. They don't have to be on welfare. They don't have to be looking out, asking for stuff, begging, and all that stuff. Maybe it's a little too late for some of us. And when I see the brothers out there on the street, old men, older than me, standing in front of the store asking for some money, I know they're going to get some alcohol, I give them the money. Because for many of them, it is too late, in this life. But our children, man, we got to make sure they're okay. Saw this kid the other day, man, he's like 5 years old, big old earring in his ear. Another kid, his dad was probably about 35 years old, a big car open up, music, blah, 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 blah. He was high, he was getting high, and a little 7-year-old son was sitting there next to him. What kind of influence is that? Where's that boy going to end up? All the time in the neighborhoods, parents are in there getting high. When my lifestyle was somewhat similar, I'm just glad I didn't have any kids back then, but the point is, these kids answer the door, come outside, out from a whole bunch of smoke coming out of those houses. Really negative, poor influences in their lives, and they're not going to be much probably when they get older. There's competition out there. And so we just need to recognize that. And I was talking about the permanent fads. And maybe we'll close with the permanent fads. But these tattoos. Now my son has a tattoo. The fortunate thing is he's got it right here on his arm. That you can wear shirts and you can cover things up. But see, these decisions we make when we're young people, then you get out in the workplace and so you're an employer with $1 million or $1 billion company, and you're looking who you're going to hire. When you see these tattoos, you might be thinking, I don't know. Now, it may be totally false in your mind. This might have been the most sharp, the best person for the job. But in your mind, you're wondering how responsible this guy is, and you may even be stereotyping him and putting him in a classification with some people that would be trouble to your business. So really, this would be the best person for your business. But he just might miss out simply because of a permanent fad that he put on himself. And so as well, that Facebook, man, I think it's cool, hitting a bong or something. Remember that that swimmer? I don't know what his name was. And he had all these endorsements, multi-million-dollar endorsements all lined up and everything, the Olympic swimmer. And then somehow a picture surfaced of him hitting a bong. His endorsements pulled out for real. So some of those pictures and things that our kids are posting on the internet may come back to haunt them one day. Some of the petty crimes, this is what I fault the music industry as far as the influences that they're giving these children. And the children are thinking certain things are cool, doing things, beating kids up, or taking this, or stealing this, or just doing this, or not even going to class, skipping class. All these negative influences on the lives of these children, and then they go to get a job somewhere, and it's like, well, let me see your transcripts. Competition out there. Prospective employers, they can be picky now. And so when I came up, it was they weren't as picky as they are today. But then you get a record. I remember this young person walked up to me, and he was talking about the post office. He wanted to get a job at the post office, and he was saying, he had lost his driver's license, but he heard if he got hired at the post office, it'd help him get his driver's license back. I didn't even have the heart to tell him he will never get hired at the post office. So we make decisions in our lives, and sometimes they're just the wrong decisions, and we've jacked up. We're paid for it, a lot of us right now. But our children, we need to take the experiences that we've had, the mistakes and the goofs that we've made in our life, and just make sure our children don't mimic, don't repeat the same mistakes that we made. And so we can be proud of them. That's all this message is today. Just look at your child and begin to try to talk to your child. I think the biggest benefit that you could give your child is to admit to them some of the mistakes and some of the errors in judgment you made in your life. and how they negatively impacted you, your greatest regrets. And in closing, I'll tell you one, and it's not even that deep and that heartbreaking, but one of my greatest regrets, and this might seem kind of silly to some of you because it's not, especially after the content of this particular program, but I've lived in many places. About 3 months before I went in the military when I was 17, I took off across country with like 3 buddies of mine. And man, I saw so many, from here to California, ended up in Long Beach, of all places. But in between, man, Colorado mountains and Nevada and the Calico Desert, you know, we were in California. I was in an Old West town where it was like a whole town, everybody dressed up, you know, like Old West characters. And I remember going through Las Vegas, you know, I was wearing no shirt, jeans, and some hiking boots, you know, and I think one of them Australian hats, you know, this is back in the 70s, but just like bumming it across the country because I knew I was scheduled to go in the Air Force a couple months later. And I didn't have a camera. Of all the beautiful, amazing things that I saw, I didn't have a camera. And then when I went in the military, I was like, I spent a lot of time in different places in the States, but then I went overseas to Japan and spent some time in Korea. And I saw things, flew over things. You know, the mountain that you see in those Paramount pictures, you know, Mount Fuji, Fujiyama. I mean, I've flown over that. And I see the cherry blossom festivals, and I see all kinds of festivals and all kinds of beautiful things. No pictures. Because I was like, I'm here. What do I need a camera for? I was experiencing it. I was living it. And now 30 years later, I'm like, I got no pictures to remember any of that stuff by. You know, some pictures of some bars, you know, something like that. And so I told my son when he was going to Chile, I said, you know, I gave him that experience. The biggest mistake Daddy has, a regret, that Dad has, you know, in his life, a regret, is that of all the places I've been, I didn't take any pictures. Don't make the same mistakes I made. Man, that boy came back, he took about 1,000 pictures, man. I mean, he took maybe 500, 600, 700 pictures. I know it's easier now with these little digital cameras than it was back in the old days, but the fact is, they listen to you. They'll listen to you. When you tell them about the mistakes, when you tell them about your regrets, you tell them about the ways that you took that you shouldn't have gone and you wish you hadn't, and you share that with your child, they'll get it. They'll listen. They act towards you or how they think they are. You are still their hero, even if you're square, even if you're not as cool as they are. They'll listen. Don't be so prideful and arrogant that you're not going to tell them your hurts, your pains, the sad things in your life, the mistakes that you've made. Those are the lessons. Don't let them think you got it all together. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I did that. All that stuff. Come on now. Half the stuff they know you're lying anyway. But when you begin to share with them the mistakes that you made, the pains that you made, the wrong decisions, and the suffering that it caused, and how you don't want them to go down that same path, they will listen to you. Trust me. They will. So think about that. We want better for our kids than we have for ourselves.